Hi, we're from Group 7, and we're going to be talking about overtourism in Barcelona. So first we'll be talking about tourism in Barcelona as a whole, then some of the global contributors that add to overtourism, then some potential solutions that we've come up with, and how COVID-19 has impacted the industry. So overtourism is when there are too many visitors in a particular destination, but what is considered too many is relative to each destination and how much their community can hold. And overtourism has been happening and been increasing, especially because the industry has been focusing on the positives of tourism and not so much the negatives.
So now on to the history and role of overtourism in Barcelona. The rise of overtourism in Barcelona really resulted from the 1992 Olympic Games that were hosted in Barcelona, and this brought large crowds of people to the city. Also, pre-COVID, Barcelona had around 32 million annual visitors, but about half of these were day trippers, so they're not really benefiting the local community because they're spending most of their money at popular tourist attractions. And spending also accounts for a fifth of the revenue that's generated by the commercial sector in Barcelona, making it an important part of the economy. So the main role of overtourism in Barcelona is that it diminishes the quality of life for the local residents as tourist needs become a priority. And this is mainly seen in the local artisan shops that have been converted into souvenir shops. Also, the markets that are producing food to cater towards the tourists rather than the local people. And one of the main issues has been flats being turned into temporary housing for visitors because this draws out the local people. This quote shows how these issues have caused protest against increased tourism that's aimed at authorities and businesses who aren't regulating it properly.
So there are five main global contributing factors that contribute to overtourism. The first one being cheap travel. So the low-cost airlines are making flights more and more accessible, especially to the middle class, and they're no longer reserved to the upper class. And this also has to do with demographics because the middle class is growing ever since the baby boomer generation. And another factor is travel writing and advertising. And this is blogs or social media posts that appeal to certain traveling hotspots, making these sites honeypot sites. And these are when the same places are visited at the same time each year. And then two other factors is the holiday apartments. And these are buildings created for residential housing, but that are being converted into home shares for the influx of tourists that are coming in, which raises rent and pushes out the local community. And then lastly, large cruise ships are allowing thousands of visitors to enter port cities one at a time and for only a short period at a time. And these travelers are less likely to spend like vast amounts of money, which harms the local community. And also these large cruise liners are more accessible to middle class, just as flights are. And then this is a quote that has to do with overtourism.
So these are just some of the areas that have been struggling with overtourism globally. And then next, we're going to talk about the solutions that can be implemented to reduce overtourism. So technology's influence on society is overwhelming and can be used to create positive travel solutions. Social media can spread information quickly, and artificial intelligence can be used to implement crowd control, taking monitoring and response measures for overpopulated areas. Data can also be measured in real time and connect tourists to smarter and more efficient travel methods. There are also websites to inform tourists on sustainable travel methods. Also, society's perspectives are shifting, and society is becoming more aware of sustainable efforts and more willing to learn and implement sustainable travel. And also, the COVID-19 pandemic has made individuals more likely to listen to rules and regulations so that travel will be accessible again. And then another method would be super blocks, which use shared spaces to reclaim the streets, reduce noise levels, and environmental pollution to foster a sense of community. And then these are just some of the statistics we've collected to show the negative impact of COVID-19 on global tourism.
The rules and regulations that have been put in place due to COVID-19 have taken a drastic hit on the tourism industry. Places that used to have a lot of over tourism with hustle and bustle and people everywhere, a lot of noise, are now filled with an almost deafening silence. And it has allowed us to have this greater appreciation for travel and the freedom that we do have to travel, and encourage people to follow these rules and regulations put in place, or that freedom will be revoked from us. Another way that COVID has affected the tourism industry is with hotels. They are now having to discount their rooms in order to simply get them filled. And so that has been a major hit on the industry as well. Some of the positives is that people are stepping outside of places that used to have a lot of over tourism, and they are now taking trips where they can safely socially distance and abide by these rules and regulations simply to be able to travel. This is often seen with camping or RV trips or a lot more outside attractions. Another thing is that places like Barcelona, who had a lot of over tourism, recently implemented a series of measures in order to combat over tourism. And that, combined with the rules and regulations that we've had to learn to follow during COVID, will ultimately help the over tourism become less, so that we can keep the firmness intact and that Barcelona can keep these management strategies. Thank you, guys.